Get ready, because we're about to dive into the world of the biggest concerts ever. Those legendary shows where the crowds were so huge, it felt like the entire world was there. We'll also uncover some cool and interesting facts about these artists at the time of these iconic performances. Let's explore 10 of the biggest concerts of all time. Let's go. First up, we have Paul van Dyk at the Love Parade in Berlin in 2008. Imagine 1 million people dancing in the streets to his epic electronic beats. Paul van Dyk was riding high at this point in his career, having just won a Grammy for his remix featured in Christopher Nolan's Batman: The Dark Knight movie. He was one of the first DJs to achieve global superstar status, and this performance at the Love Parade solidified his place as a pioneer in electronic music. The city was literally pulsating with energy as he turned Berlin into the biggest dance party on the planet. Next, let's rewind to 1969 with the Rolling Stones at Altamont Speedway. This concert is famous, and a bit infamous, because it marked the end of the 60s peace and love era. The Stones were at the peak of their powers, following the massive success of their album Let It Bleed. But the Altamont show turned chaotic, with violence breaking out during their set. Despite the turmoil, Mick Jagger kept his cool and continued to perform, proving that the Stones were not just rock stars, they were survivors. This concert became a defining moment in rock history, showing both the dark and bright sides of the counterculture movement. Now let's jump to 1985 with Queen's legendary performance at Live Aid. By this time, Queen was already one of the biggest bands in the world, but their appearance at Live Aid took them to another level entirely. Freddie Mercury, who had been dealing with personal struggles and health issues, delivered what is now considered the greatest live performance ever. The band played a 20-minute set that included Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions. The energy was off the charts, and it's said that this performance revived Queen's career, giving them a second win that lasted well into the 90s. In 1997, Garth Brooks showed that country music wasn't just for the South when he took over Central Park in New York City. Garth was already a country megastar, having just released his hit album Sevens, which topped the charts. What's even more impressive is that Garth was breaking down barriers for country music, bringing nearly 1 million people together in the middle of the Big Apple. His performance in Central Park was a huge crossover success, proving that his music could unite people from all walks of life. It was one of those moments where country went global, and Garth was at the heart of it. Speaking of big crowds, let's talk about AC/DC's 1991 concert in Moscow. The band was on their Razor's Edge tour, following the release of their hit album of the same name. This album featured the iconic track Thunderstruck, which became an anthem for rock fans worldwide. The concert took place just as the Soviet Union was collapsing, and for many in the crowd it was their first taste of Western rock music. Over 1.6 million people turned up, making it one of the largest concerts ever held. AC/DC's high-voltage performance symbolized freedom and change, electrifying a nation that was experiencing both. A few years earlier, in 1981, Simon and Garfunkel reunited for a free concert in Central Park after years of being apart. This was a huge deal because the duo had split in the early 70s, and fans thought they'd never see them perform together again. Their relationship was famously rocky, but for one night, they put their differences aside and delivered a stunning performance to 500,000 people. The concert was a mix of nostalgia and healing, as their music brought back memories of a simpler time. The highlight was their performance of The Sound of Silence, which resonated deeply with the massive crowd. In 2006, the Rolling Stones proved they were still the kings of rock when they performed on Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro for 1.5 million people. At this point in their career, the Stones had been rocking the world for over 40 years, and they showed no signs of slowing down. This concert was part of their A Bigger Bang tour, which was one of the highest-grossing tours of all time. Mick Jagger, who was in his 60s, still had the energy of a teenager, and the crowd couldn't get enough. The Stones delivered hit after hit, proving that they were still as relevant as ever. Now, let's head back to Moscow in 1997, where Jean-Michel Jarre played for 3.5 million people. Jarre was already a pioneer of electronic music, known for his massive outdoor concerts that combined music with spectacular light shows. This concert was part of Moscow's 850th anniversary celebrations, and it was a futuristic extravaganza that showcased Jarre's ability to blend music with technology. His performance was a sensory overload, with lasers, fireworks, and mind-blowing visuals. At a time when electronic music was just beginning to gain mainstream attention, Jarre was showing the world what the future could look like. Jean-Michel Jarre appears on our list twice, with another Guinness Book record in 1990. In front of 2.5 million people, the electronic music artist performed for 2 hours in Paris at La Défense, in a show synchronized and illuminated by 65 tons of fireworks, as well as laser and light projections on the tall buildings. But the biggest concert of all time? That honor goes to Rod Stewart's 1994 New Year's Eve show on Copacabana Beach. With 3.5 million people in attendance, this concert wasn't just big, it was record-breaking. At the time, Rod was at the peak of his career, having just released his album A Spanner in the Works, which included hits like All for Love. The atmosphere was electric as Rod welcomed the new year with his fans, proving that he was one of the greatest showmen in music history. This concert remains the largest ever, and it's a testament to Rod Stewart's incredible career. So there you have it, some of the biggest, most epic concerts ever, each with its own unique story. These weren't just shows, they were moments that brought millions of people together, showcasing the power of music to unite.